One. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of our new podcast called Collect Call. I'm Breck, and this is Anna.
You have an incoming collect call from.
Mom, the new episode of Collect Call just dropped.
Would you like to accept?
We're going to be talking today a lot about school, and we are going into our sophomore year this year, so we're going to talk about some of the interesting things we found in freshman year and things we're looking forward to. So
things we liked that we did, things that we wish we did.
Wish we would have known.
Yeah. So, the first thing I wanted to think about was just talk about was just things that I am glad that I did going into the year and things that I wished I did different. So
yeah. I definitely think a major thing that I wish I would have done different is not pick my classes necessarily based off my friends. I was happy with my classes, but I think I would have been happier in a few different classes than I originally took. Maybe another honors versus taking normal history and things like that.
Yeah, I feel like I did pick my classes based off of what I wanted to take. I mean, along with my parents,
influence.
Because I was taking different electives than all of our friends at the time.
Yeah, true.
So, I think it's definitely, while that was, my least favorite class I took, I think being able to take that class and not jumping straight into what I would have done if I didn't take that class, I think I would have been really upset if I went into, fully focusing on childcare classes.
Yeah.
I think I'm glad I took that class and realized it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to pursue as a career choice.
Mm-hmm.
And, kind of get myself stuck.
So, another thing that we were thinking about, what's something that you wish you would have known before going into this year?
I think that, people always say, I don't know, I feel like people always have this idea that it's super scary and that, you're gonna go into it and you're just going to be lost. And, I feel like as soon as I got into the school for the, freshman orientation, that, yes, I was scared during that because it is a pretty large school and there's, a bunch of different hallways. I did get lost a couple times during that because we had to, do a, thing about that and, walk around the school.
Mm-hmm.
But then, after that, a week into the school year, I know that school at the back of my hand now. And I feel
for sure.
One thing that this year's really helped me learn was that, things will work out. And, if you're nervous about something or you're nervous, you're not going to know what to do. Not only ask for help if it does get to a point where, you don't know what you're doing in the moment, but also people explain things. You're not just going to be left high and dry in some situation. People are going to help you through it and explain things, and it's not you're going to be just thrown into it. It's not you get into class and you immediately, needed to have all these things you didn't know you needed. Teachers are going to explain there and be there to help you and stuff.
Also, I think it's a very common misconception that teachers are very, very mean in high school, and some of them are. There are teachers that are very strict, one bathroom pass per semester and stuff like that, but especially with freshman teachers, I can guarantee all of them, at least for the
they
school
understand
that
you're
go
new.
To, their main goal those first, pretty much first semester is making sure you're all okay, making sure you're settled, giving you a chance to get ready, especially if there's things like grading system switch and different things like that. It can be a little hard, but they're there to help you, and I definitely think that a lot of teachers say that, but it's sometimes hard to hear, but they definitely are there to help you.
Yeah, I remember the first day of school, my classroom, my first period class was, in the first hallway right as you enter. And so, I, asked somebody, where the classroom was, and they were oh, yeah, it's just down the hallway a little bit. And I took a little bit as, all the way down the hallway. And I got very lost, and then I finally found the class. But like, I know a lot of people who were really scared about not making it to their classes during passing period.
And our passing period this year was 8 minutes. But
So,
the teachers,
that's pretty long.
especially freshman teachers,
They
and
understand.
especially
for like
the
first half of the year.
Yeah, and even just like by the first week or two, even maybe 3, you kind of learn any shortcuts, especially as a freshman, and you kind of get a feel for where your classes are. And your teachers, sorry for anybody listening through Spotify.
A cat just jumped on the couch.
There is a cat that has been walking around, and he finally came to join us. So you might hear his purring a little bit. But
yeah, I
they
feel like
they
the
are pretty
teachers
lenient.
are pretty especially like for the first quarter, first half of the year, depending on the teacher, they can be very lenient. I feel like also with us like having our entire like middle school basically be during COVID and online, they definitely like I feel like they had an understanding that we didn't necessarily fully know how school worked.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so I know there was like grading changes. Teachers were a lot less strict. Like work not being turned in, because that's something I struggle with. And all of that.
So I kind of wanted to get in next. We can always leave it for later, but I was thinking about how we feel about talking about our school with friends and stuff like that, and how that played into switching schools, at least
I feel like,
for you to start, if you want to start with that.
Yeah. So I definitely went into the school year feeling very lonely, because I move schools a lot, but
Military kid.
But you know, I was going into a new school having already known people, which isn't something that happens very often. And then with everything that happened, I feel like that just, it really made me feel like, you know, like I don't know. It was just like, it was a weird experience for me, because I was like going into a new place with people who were there for me. And so yeah, that was funky. Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely say a major thing, especially if you are a rising freshman this year, is like keep a small group of really good friends, or like at least one friend per class kind of thing.
I feel like even if you don't necessarily have a small group of friends, if you do have a large group of friends, make sure that you at least know the people who you are closest with or want to be the closest with, because in high school people realize they have different dreams and want to do different things.
And there's a lot of separation with the amount of classes and class periods. So you might all be taking the same classes, but there's 6 different periods of each of those classes. So I think it's really important to remember that the people in your class, even if you've like known some of them your whole life, or some new kids are in that class this year, just make sure you're always like open to being friends, because I've found over this past year that having a friend in whatever class you're in at whatever point in the day,
it's going to make the class so much better.
Easier. Yeah.
Like since I did pick different classes than a lot of my friends, I didn't know many people in my classes. So I've made a lot more just like mutual or general friends who I can then go into classes next year, and if I'm not with people who are like my best friend, then I can still know people and get to know these people better. Like, I've made some better friends, and you know, I've gotten closer with people who I wanted to be friends with.
Yeah, which I think is it's really helpful to have that, and it makes the year feel easier, especially because in subjects that you might not be the best in, it's always nice to have someone that's either can help you with that, or just be kind of a
somebody
little bit...
who can be there for you, even if they're also struggling with it. You guys can, like, work together, and because, like, two heads are better than one, that sort of thing. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's also, I feel like I find I get less stress when I have somebody either going through it with me or somebody who can help me with it.
Yeah, so just for a little bit of context, Annabeth and I have been friends for the past 2 years.
2 years?
We're going on 3.
Year and a half. 2 years, yeah.
We're going on, it'll be almost 3 this year. This coming year.
Yeah.
She doesn't know math. That's why she needs me in math this year.
Whatever.
But
yeah.
that's just we've been friends for almost coming up on 3 years. We've done a lot of things together. We hang out pretty often, so I hope you enjoy as the podcast continues with more episodes. I hope you enjoy
seeing how we interact. I feel like we have such a weird friendship.
Our craziness. But thanks for tuning in for today. There's more to come. Of course, the episode's not over, but I just wanted to give you a little context and give you a little bit of more of an introduction to us before we continue on with the next part of this topic. So we are both 15 years old.
I'm what, 3 months older than you?
Yeah, we live on the East Coast. So that's kind of the seasonal temperatures at the moment.
It's humid.
It's humid. That's pretty much all you need to know. Very humid outside. So this is our setup for the first probably
couple.
We're going to be, our schedule is hoping to be
every other week.
Yeah, every other week. About is the hope. This episode you will see it on. It will be posted on Thursday,
Thursday or Friday, depending on when I can get it out.
So, the hope, I think, is going to be probably around Thursday, Friday updates. So, if you do decide that this is a funny little thing you want to watch, there'll be 45
Or if
minute...
we're forcing you to watch it.
Yeah, there'll be 45-minute to an hour episodes every 2 weeks, Thursday or Friday, typically. And
it'll get more structured as we, like, kind of get to know it.
Yeah, so this is
we're feeling it.
Our first podcast. We've both had interesting YouTube channels from when we were younger. But this is our first time doing a podcast, so for all our Spotify listeners, thanks for listening, and for everybody on YouTube, you get to see our pretty faces at least, but thank you for watching. Probably by the 3rd episode, we will have our new setup in our new office space, so we're very excited for that.
And we'll start sophomore year soon.
So even more interesting things. This podcast is, of course, you have the description that you probably read before coming and watching, but this podcast is going to be high school based, the ins, the outs, the bads, the ups, the downs, everything that comes with being
making
a high
it
schooler.
Through life and as teenagers.
Just giving you a little bit of perspective, so any parents listening in, here's a little perspective on maybe what your high schoolers thinking, maybe how they're feeling. We'll probably do some things about how to talk to your high schooler, just some things that either we wish we would have known, we need other people to know, and just kind of our life experience. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to let Beth introduce herself a little bit, and then we will get back to our questions.
I'm Annabeth. Beth. Yeah, either.
You'll hear both, I'm sure.
It's kind of just one of those things where, like, it's whatever falls out of people's mouths. Yeah. Like,
Anna might get you murdered.
Yeah, don't call me Anna. I don't know what else to say. I feel like...
I kind of covered it. I mean, we're both 15.
I mean, I feel like I have a lot of, like, things to say, but I don't have anything to say at the same time, which could be a problem. But
job?
Oh, yeah, I have a job.
What do you want to do?
Oh, I don't need to go over that right now. That'll be a different
That'll be a different episode. The future.
Yeah. ...
Yeah. Subscribe for the next episode. This is not a private office space. So you might hear some noises. There is a cat and actually 3 cats and a dog that run around the space pretty typically, so for our YouTube viewers, you'll see that, and for Spotify, sorry for the excess noises that will be following us around. But with that, why don't we get back into questions?
Yeah. So, I feel like there was something I wanted to talk about. But, like, I feel like just talking about...
How do you feel with, I know I have an older sibling in high school, and Annabeth will have a younger brother in high school by her senior year. So how do we feel about siblings in the same school as us and that general idea?
When my little brother's in high school, I think that'll be so weird. Because, like, he's so little.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like with having, like, me and him there was 1 year where we were in the same school, but other than that, we've never really gone to the same school. And so,
yeah, I definitely think the middle child, so I'll have my younger sister in 2 years, and my older brother, this is his last year. So I definitely think that it adds a certain dynamic, and it's a little weird because especially at the beginning, my brother was very much like, we don't know each other when we're at school kind of thing, and I feel like as the year has gone by, especially considering I am actually dating one of my brother's friends, I know, I'm dating one of his friends, it's very like, he's kind of had to accept me as I'm in his space now, almost.
Yeah.
So, I think if you have a sibling in high school, especially if you're the big sibling, look out for them.
Yeah.
If they're freshmen, like, help them to their classes, especially if you had that teacher. Like, even if you want them to, like, ignore you the whole time, whatever, just help them because they're probably a little scared and a little confused and worried what's going to happen. And some seniors are jerks and tell you that your class is in the wrong place and stuff like that. So
they'll like tell you things just to like entertain themselves.
Yeah, so you really have to, you just have to watch out. That's another thing for upcoming freshmen. Watch for,
like, not all seniors are bad. Some can be like very sweet.
The two of us know like 4 or 5 seniors that we're actually fairly close with, and they're very sweet people. But just, if a student gives you directions that you don't know, be a little wary. Yeah. Maybe ask a teacher.
Like, while you should be open to developing new relationships with people, especially if they're just not in your grade, like, I think that's one thing that I'm glad I did was make friends and not be scared to talk to people who weren't my age.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, but still, you know, you can't trust everyone, and very much, I feel like the next topic I kind of want to talk about is, now that you've sort of brought it up, is dating.
Oh, okay, sure.
Just, you know, quickly cover, like, I think it definitely depends on who you are.
Yeah,
if you're going to date in high school.
Dating in high school is definitely an interesting thing. I'm dating right now. She's not. That's kind of how we are right now. So, I'm dating someone a year above me. If there's more than a year,
don't do it. If the grades don't touch, don't do it.
Neither should
you. Or else you or the person that you're dating is going to get called a cougar, and there's going to be so much drama surrounding it.
It definitely will be. So, if the grades don't touch, neither so you. So, if you're a freshman, don't date a junior. If you're a sophomore, don't date a senior. If you're a senior, don't date a freshman.
Don't. No, I don't want to see freshmen.
And if you're a freshman, do not date a senior. I don't care if the senior is 17 and you're like telling 16. You that it's fine. Like, I don't care. Don't do it. Like, my girlfriend is a year and a half older than me. She is a rising junior. And she's actually friends with my brothers. There's so much cat hair on my friend. There is. Sorry, YouTube, for the cat hair. We're gonna have to like. My cat has decided today is his shed day. So, but you know what? He's really cute to look at, isn't he? So, I'd say dating is an interesting thing. If you dated in middle school, I'd say that
you can keep doing it into high school.
I mean, it's nothing like.
It's not something that should be frowned upon, because it definitely is something that, like, once you're getting to, like, be in high school, it's something you can definitely experiment with. I mean,
and it's something where, if, like, personally,
it depends on personal preference and, you know, where and how you kind of, like, grew up and what your just life is.
Yeah, and it's definitely, like, personally, like, I dated a lot in, like, middle school and stuff like that, and it was very much like, oh, do you want to be my boyfriend? We'd date for, like, a month or whatever, and then we'd break up. Like, we never went on dates, like, stuff like that.
And I haven't dated anyone,
and I think
like,
that in my opinion, at least, it's better to wait to date until you have a car. Like, looking back on it, it's better.
It's just more fun that
unless
way.
you live, like, in town of wherever you live, and that person does too. Like, it's not as fun to have to be dropped off and picked up on your date by your, like, dad. Like, that's not always the most fun thing. So I definitely recommend waiting can typically be a better option. But my partner can drive, so I really appreciate that. Will be able to drive as of next month. So we've only been dating for 3 months, but I mean, it's harder to date towards the end of the school year. Like, it's easier to have an already built relationship to go into the summer, unless you are both very much like, don't do anything during the summer kind of thing, or else you will be alone for the summer, basically.
Yeah, another thing with dating is not necessarily that I've seen this with some of my friends, but I've heard of things where, like, if you are dating, still look out for your friends. Like, don't leave your friends high and dry when you're in a relationship and then come crawling back to them when, like, somebody breaks your heart. Like,
exactly.
If you want people to be there, like, for you, be there for them too.
Yeah, and that's an important thing, I think.
Also, if we can move on to the next topic, I feel like I also kind of brought this up, was drama.
Yeah.
Don't start drama.
As we all know, drama follows certain people around.
It does. It just, like, will latch on to people.
It will, and it's I think it's partially parts of certain people's personalities and stuff. Yeah. But if you're going to start drama, like, unless you're doing something that's going to make you genuinely more happy, and you're doing it and everybody else thinks that it's, like, weird or starting drama because of it, but you're happy, I say, just go for it, and maybe those aren't the people you should be surrounding yourself with. But if you're causing drama to cause drama, like,
if it's to entertain you, if it's to entertain others, like, just don't do it, because it's not worth your time.
Exactly.
And it'll tarnish your reputation.
And that kind of goes into, like, drama and dating as well. Like, don't date someone to piss someone else off, don't date someone because everybody tells you to. Don't go into, like, a revenge,
like, era, like...
Yeah, and don't date people because people tell you to. Like, just because someone tells you not to. Like, if you want to date someone and people are telling you no, don't date that person, kind of thing. Like,
I think, like,
be happy.
Test runs very much, like, and kind of setting expectations is a big thing. So, I feel like test runs and stuff, with relationships, definitely. I feel like that's always a good thing, especially when you are so young. Like,
because
you don't know what you
want. Like, even freshmen and sophomores are still young, like, before you turn 16, you're still not, and I say that as a 15-year-old, you're still not fully 100% ready for full commitment and stuff like that, and you might think that you want that or you need that, but it's always good to kind of know where you stand and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I also, like, with drama, I know I'm friends with one person who they dated someone that caused them to have drama surround them because that person was going and making drama.
Yeah.
They were happy in the relationship up until the drama aspect of it. And so then when they inevitably broke up, it caused drama to follow them too. And people don't necessarily love this girl. But, like, she's a very sweet girl and she doesn't like the drama. But because she dated someone, it followed her.
Exactly. And it's also, like, another thing that brings back to kind of drama and dating and stuff like that and friends is, like, if I was in a place at one point with another person who I had dated before, and there was this other girl as well, and so, like, and we were friends, and so, like, you never want to, I think a major thing is you should never let yourself fall apart. It's the old, like, movie trope, like, you're both in love with the same person. Like, be in
Love triangles.
Like, love each other more than that is kind of what I'm saying. Like, you, friends first, you know, like, respect your friend's decision. Or if you ask your friend and they're like, hey, I would really appreciate, like, if you didn't date them, like, I mean, respect your friends to an extent.
Yeah.
If they're just doing it to make sure that you're, like, not happy, make yourself happy, you know. But I think
if
a
they're
major
doing it
thing
to look
is,
out for you, listen to them.
yeah,
Like,
listen to them.
especially if you're close with them, your friends will have good intentions, even
They're
if
trying to
somebody
protect
else is
you.
telling you that they don't. If
Yeah.
that's somebody you're not as close with as them, then
They're trying to
they're
protect you.
trying to help you. I feel like that's also, I feel like another thing in high school is don't feel forced to date and don't settle.
And don't feel forced not to date.
Yeah. Like, I feel like settling and being in an unhappy situation will
Is
then
way worse.
hurt your high school experience. Like, you know, some people will say that high school is the worst days of their lives. Some people will say that they were the best years and they, like, peaked during high school and stuff. But I think just trying to have a good time, and you're going to have bad days, you're going to have bad weeks, you're
It's
going to
gonna
have
be-
bad years.
Yeah.
But I think still going into it with a positive attitude and trying not to tarnish that like attitude you're going in with, which is another thing.
And I think it all kind of comes back to friends, like, over and over again. I think it really does come back to, you should try to start your year with
a support system.
and you should try to build that support system as best you can. And it's good to have friends in upper years that know more than you, but it's also good to have friends, like, if I'm sure this year we're going to see we help at the middle school on occasion, so, like, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of rising 9th graders that we already know, and, like, we're going to help them because a lot of time, especially when I was younger with an older sibling, there's a lot of very much so, like, their friends are mean and they, like, make fun of you because you're little and, like, that kind of thing. So I definitely think that one of our goals, or at least mine, is making sure that freshmen every single year that I'm at the high school always feel welcome and ready, because especially with classes like choir and band and orchestra and stuff like that, where all the years are together, it's good to have friends or become friends with younger kids and older kids, and make sure that you kind of have a nice steady group of all different ages, because it's a whole different experience every single year. It's a whole different group of teachers sometimes, even. It's a whole different group of views and religions and, like, all that kind of thing. And so I think it really makes life so much more fun and happy when you do have just a bigger, diverse group, as well as just a nice group of support systems for all your needs.
Also, another thing I wanted to talk about was things that we aren't glad we did and things we wish we didn't do. So if I could start.
Yeah, you start.
I think, like I was saying, have a positive outlook.
Yeah.
Like, I had teachers who I didn't like, and I had people around me also not liking that teacher, and I feel like it diminished how I viewed that teacher. And so I then have a worse outlook on their class. I do worse in their class. I feel like the teachers in which I connect with the best are the people who I am the best in their class. Like, I am, I have the most positive outlook on their class, so I, like, care about their class. I do their work, and I'm just better in their class.
Yeah.
But then, like, the teachers which I did have a negative outlook, they very much, like, I didn't do as well in their classes. I kind of was just a little more, like, lackluster and, like, kind of just more upset in their classes of not necessarily wanting to be there. And so it diminished how I did in my work.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I think for me, one of the things I definitely regret is, really, I'm a very much so people pleaser. You'll hear Eventually, we're hoping to have some other people on the podcast. You'll hear it from them. You'll hear it from Annabeth, I'm sure, a million times over the course of this. But I'm very much a people pleaser, and I think a big thing for me this year was trying to, I definitely, especially starting the new year, was with the people that I was starting it with, not just the friends that I had, but also just the people around me. And in certain classes, I was definitely just trying to kind of make sure they were okay and kind of listen to them and follow their lead. And I am excited to do some stuff that I not necessarily would have considered.
Taking care of yourself.
And yeah, taking care of yourself is definitely a big thing. I know mental health is a big thing in the world right now, that we're all
very popular topic.
And not that this is ever going to get political or anything. Both of us have struggled with mental health deeply for forever. So
but
I definitely think that
also, I feel like just with taking care of yourself doesn't have to necessarily be about mental health, but focusing on like your schoolwork, but also giving yourself a break from that work and not working yourself tirelessly where you become burnt out and exhausted.
Yeah, and I think
that can also hurt.
Yeah, I think another thing I wanted to talk about, if you're good with that, is ways that we have found to help with studying, even if maybe we didn't do them last year, but things we're going to start doing, because I know we had discussed ways, especially when you take honors classes. Now, I find, personally, in the honors classes that I've taken thus far, there is less homework because you are so fast-paced during class, but there's also a good few big projects that we have to take into consideration, so why don't we hit on that?
I think, like, with projects, especially if they're group projects, working with the person, not just working and doing the work with the person, but being able to communicate and
collaborate
and really be there with the person. And I feel like also, if you get yourself excited for the work you're doing, you're going to be more likely to do it and do it well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think at least we have this in place, and I think it's a really good idea, especially for rising freshmen and really anybody. But
find
we plan
a
on
cafe
taking
near you.
Yeah, a cafe, anything,
a library,
a coffee shop, a book, anything really that will just let you sit down and do your work, or even like it could be at one of your houses, but just with
somewhere where there's not going to be distractions,
or just like
minimal distractions.
And pick someone where either you have projects with them, or pick someone with that you can
help with, but you can also work by yourself.
You can have fun, but you can work,
going
and you
to
can
turn it into like gossip session or some sort of like chat and hangout.
And that's the thing, is that like, I know for us at least, both of us are very talkative, both of us strong opinions, big mouths, very very loud individuals in general, but I think that this, for us at least, is going to help us a lot, because we both will have work to do and we'll get it done, and then after we can either hang out for a little bit and talk, or on like the walk or the ride home we can have that break to kind of hang out for a while, or go get something to eat real quick, or stay at the cafe and eat. And so we have that time, and it's always nice. I feel like I personally, at least, I know this is an actual thing, my mind is blanking on what it's called, but having another person sitting next to you when you're doing stuff is always very helpful for me, at least, to make sure I actually do it and get it done.
Now, like, I feel like it's one thing is just like having a support system, and if you don't have a support system, trying to build one. You don't necessarily, I feel like when you go into things, you yes, hold expectations for yourself, but if you're saying, okay, I need to find friends, and you find friends that aren't the best, but you're like, I have friends, I'm good, that's gonna then hurt you, right, in the long run. So I think just try to find friends. You're going to attempt to do something, and if you do it, that's great, because that was your goal. But if you don't do it, at least you tried.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of high school, is at least you tried. Like, that's a big thing that always comes to my brain during the days, is, maybe I don't succeed in getting a teacher to, like, help me with something, or letting me retake a test or something like that. But it's always better to try and to ask, especially in your freshman year, and especially towards the beginning of the year. If you bomb a test, especially if that teacher hasn't exactly laid out the rules for tests and stuff like that, ask them, be like, hey, is there any way I could do this, or is there any extra credit paper I can do?
And
like,
ask politely.
Yeah, always
be polite to your teachers, even if you don't necessarily love them.
Yeah.
Be polite to them.
And formal in emails is a major thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
formal emails.
That's they're going to notice that. Because I know at our school there can be some kids who don't have the politest reactions to teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are polite, that's not necessarily something they'll take into consideration, but it won't go unappreciated.
Yeah, and it definitely, I find at least, I'm definitely the kind of people pleaser. I'm very much so like, how was your day, Miss whatever? How was your weekend, Mr. whoever? You know, so I definitely think just small things like that, not even like buying them gifts on teacher appreciation, which I know is definitely always appreciated by them, but just being kind all year round and just bringing a positive energy into their classrooms and stuff like that can make a teacher's day just so much better, and it will make your class period so much better, you know, and it will make them enjoy having you in class, and it can definitely help. And once you don't have them anymore, if they remember you just being polite, it can really help with college as well as just having another contact. I know we are both in contact with
an old teacher of ours.
With an old teacher who we talk to fairly regularly, and we are hoping to be able to help. She teaches at the middle school, and we're hoping that we get to help her with things in the middle school more.
Yeah.
And it's just always nice to be nice, you know, and that's also something that I don't think I can really stress enough about going into high school, is just bring that positive energy to your classroom.
Because it's exciting. It's a new part of your life, and it's just, if you have this idea of this is going to be fun, or I'm going to try and make this be fun, then it's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because that's at the beginning of the year, I feel like
it's a little scary.
It's I also, another thing I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Was trying new things, and even if your friends aren't doing it, even if you don't necessarily know people, it can be hard to get into new things, but you're in high school, and a lot of schools offer some really great opportunities, and so even if it's something you're not totally like, I don't know if I would want to do this, or I don't know if I'm actually going to like stick with this, but I think it would be fun to try, do it. Like, try out for that sports team that you don't really know much about, or try out for like a musical instrument or a show or something.
Audition for a play, anything like that. And a lot of schools have clubs, and not necessarily after school clubs. At least our school has both in school and after school, depending on when you take when the club happens. Yeah. But enroll yourself in a club, you know, and stuff like that. And also definitely with your freshman year, there are a bunch of classes that can lead to like Art 1 goes into all these things. Even if you're not sure if you're going to stick with art for all 4 years, go to Art 1. Try it, do it. And then also, you know, you have a dropping period. Like, you get into art, you're like, I think I could be okay for the rest of the year, but I'm not loving it. Go to your counselor, talk about a switch.
I think also one last thing before we finish is going to people, asking for help, and voicing your opinions. Because if you get stuck in something that you don't love, then you are going to have a negative outlook on that, and you're not going to reach your full potential.
Yeah, and another thing is, I definitely know, Beth can attest to this, it is so scary, especially asking adults for permission. Like, I have a real big problem with it. I know other people do, so try to make sure that you remember, most of those people, even if they may seem mean, they are licensed, and they're there to help you. You know, that is they're getting paid to help you, you know. So, or even if you have a teacher, say you're in math and your teacher just seems kind of mean, or she just doesn't seem like she likes you, or he doesn't seem like they like you,
go
or
up
they,
to them,
whatever.
Ask them for help, ask them if they need help.
Yeah, or ask a teacher in that subject that you do know or that your friends know maybe. Like, maybe just ask if they also teach honors chem or something. Just be like, hey, could you help me with this? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to help you, even if they don't know you that well or they've only met you a couple times.
Yeah.
They're going to help. And that's something that I definitely think you should remember.
And take advantage of it. Don't take advantage of them, but take advantage of the resources that you are given, and don't be scared to ask for help, because I know a lot of people who are scared to ask for help or are worried of what people's opinions might be formed. But if you ask somebody for help and they teach you and they help you, then both of you guys are going to feel a lot more accomplished.
Yeah, so that was our last point for today.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Collect Call. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I hope you have an amazing next week, and I'm hoping to see you back, not this coming Thursday, but the one after, for the next episode of Collect Call, Thursday, Friday. Watch out for it. Subscribe if you would like, please. We would really appreciate it.
Make sure to follow us on our Instagram at collect.call.podcast.
So it's Braxton.
Annabeth.
And thanks for tuning in.
Have a good day, afternoon, night, wherever you are.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is
1-800-COLLECT.